chances, dreams and goals. Many mixed emotions in my heart and soul. For some I made a plan and did the best I can. If God wills, things can happen. After all, I'm just a man. Choices, chances, dreams and goals. Many mixed emotions in my heart and soul. For some I made a plan and did the best I can. If God wills, things can happen. After all, I'm just a man.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. Welcome to a new episode of our program, Life Choices. Thank you so much for being with us here today. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as always, to make the time that we spend here together in our scale of good deeds and to make it of benefit, inshallah. My dear brothers and sisters, we are talking here today, inshallah, about how to be a productive Muslim. We're resuming what we started last week, and we want to make this episode really practical. First, let me welcome my guests, Brother Ahmed Fayyad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for being back.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. Also, let me welcome Brother Abdul Salam. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcome to the program.
Welcome.
Brother Isa, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
All right, brothers and sisters, inshallah, this is more of a practical episode, inshallah. It's going to be really based on questions and answers. So we're going to have Brother Abdul Salam and Brother Isa asking their questions to Brother Ahmed Fayyad, inshallah. He'll be answering them, and then we'll have a discussion about the main points that he talked about, inshallah. So let's go ahead and begin with Brother Abdul Salam.
Okay, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulullah. Yeah, so I have some questions, some practical questions about, being in Ramadan and still having to not, manage your workload, and like for myself, right? I am studying full time, mashallah, alhamdulillah. And I also have a project that I'm working on, and I'm kind of it's the first time I'm talking about it on TV, okay? But I have a project that I'm, another children's program that I'm actually working on from the beginning, filming and then editing, and I'm, doing a lot of the, behind the scenes stuff.
That's great.
Yeah, but it takes a lot of time.
Definitely.
It's time consuming too, you have to film and then edit and do the chroma key stuff, and then, I'm making the nasheeds for it and all this stuff. And then still having to, my finals are going to be coming up.
What are you studying, by the way, if you can tell brothers and sisters?
I'm studying Islam at the Islamic Online University. It's online. We call it IOU, Islamic Online University, but it's intense. I mean, for tajweed, it's like you're on the Skype type of thing where the sheikh, you have to read for him 3 times a week, and then for Arabic, you have to they have these, they bring in the classical books, and you have to finish all of these modules. So it's very time consuming. You have to write, do projects, papers, and at the end you have to write a thesis and all this stuff. It's the real deal. And it just takes a lot of time. So what I'm asking is, and then we're in Ramadan, where we have to do the ibadah, we're in praying and we're reading the Quran, and inshallah. So what would you suggest to help me with time management?
It's first to start with planning. So when you plan ahead what you're going to do, and for each task and each objective you need to accomplish with success. So let's take it step by step. So if you apply the model of planning for implementing what you have just mentioned, you're studying full time, right?
Yes.
So you put an objective in order to success for during a certain time, correct? Or a term of study.
Yes.
Right? And another objective or goal to accomplish the project you're working on, the TV, right?
Yes.
When you start to plan, this will automatically come with scheduling what you're going to do. So your day is 24 hours. If you take 6 hours for sleep, and we're speaking during Ramadan or not Ramadan, because it's not only Ramadan, it's the whole year.
Yes,
this is the discipline. Ramadan is an opportunity to train on this discipline. So you have 24 hours, you have 6 hours, for example, to sleep, or 8. This will be depending on your the effort you're going to spend. Maybe you spend more effort over time and make them 4 hours only to sleep.
MashaAllah, yeah.
So you have strategies to do. You have the whole day, you will divide it. From after Fajr till, for example, 8 o'clock, you will be working on your project or the most important, because after Fajr, this is the very, very productive part of the day, and it will be, you'll find the peak of productivity and creativity at the same time. So you have to organize which is more important today, my project or my study. The more important or the most important will be after Fajr. And then it comes what is the rest.
You know, that's very interesting what you're saying, that the most productive time of the day is after Fajr. In Ramadan, I know a lot of people who flip their day around. So basically, they go to sleep after Fajr, you know, and then they wake up like around Dhuhr time or so. They stay up till, you know, till Maghrib, they eat, and then they go Taraweeh. And then they kind of stay up the whole night. Sometimes, you know, they're doing productive things, sometimes they're not. And then they go to sleep after Fajr. So basically, they flip their day around. They say, you know what, I don't want to be up when, like when I'm not eating, basically for this long, like for 15 or 16 hours. So subhanAllah, it's very interesting what you're saying, that productivity really is after Fajr, the time when many of us are sleeping.
Yes, and concerning when they are not eating or fasting or not, the more productivity comes when you eat less. So if you eat more, you will not be able to produce. You will feel lazy. You want to sleep. But when the less you eat, the more you will be productive. The more you will be creative. So if you're back again to your plan and your project, if you plan ahead what you're gonna do and you set the correct strategies, and you need some tools to help you. You have your daily interactions, your food, your interactions with people, with family, with your entire life. You know the research I was speaking of at the beginning of last episode, last week. It shows that when people are in Ramadan with more spirituality, their violence and argumentative attitude is less. And this is proven by research. So when you apply this to you, you will find your life easier, more accomplishments took place. So this will accomplish what you have just mentioned. And when you do this, you will feel self-satisfaction. When you feel self-satisfaction, you will find your life better. So you plan, you set strategies, you need some tools. You have 1,000 tools in our Islamic methodologies and in the Holy Quran, and some acts of Sahaba and some of Prophet Muhammad.
The Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
The Sunnah. When you take these acts, these are the methods. It tells you what to do and what not to do. When you take these tools, believe me, you'll be unbeatable.
Inshallah. Yes.
Was that answer?
Very
So,
helpful.
did we answer it?
Mashallah. Yes.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Brother Isa, do you have a question?
Okay, I would basically maybe ask a question that relates to, maybe it could relate to Ramadan, but also outside of Ramadan. I find sometimes, even like personally, when I became Muslim when I was 20, I had this like zeal to learn Islam and practice Islam and be very religious.
Yeah.
And you know, I still remember my like, so I'd be like on YouTube all night and, you know,
Watching lectures and
you know,
stuff.
yeah, just watching lectures and, you know, thinking I was, you know, religious and doing the, you know, doing the right thing. And then I remember my mom would always just kind of like be on my case, like, you know, you need to be working, you need to be doing something, like, you know, what's this religion teaching you, like, you know, to do nothing with your time. So, you know, basically I found personally, and I find sometimes other people who are like young and have this zeal to become religious, they say, okay, I'm going to completely neglect, like, you know, the dunya, I don't care about that, and, you know, religion is more important and stuff like that. And like maybe my question would be like, where should we, you know, like find the balance between the two?
Sure. We remember last episode when we spoke about you cannot spend the whole night worshiping God and reading Quran while the next day you sleep during your working hours. Right? Remember this? This is similar to your question. You cannot neglect your current life, dunya, for worshipping Allah or the Quran. The Quran and worshipping Allah is there to help you live the best and serve best the message of Allah during your life in a dunya. So, for people and brothers who just live to worship Allah and read Quran, pray, etc., it's not whole. This should be the bigger part maybe, but not all. You cannot neglect work and development in order to worship Allah. This Allah didn't say so. Allah encouraged us to work, to produce, to improve. And improve here is a key word, because you cannot just work. You need to improve.
You need to develop yourself.
To develop. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ spoke about this. The human development and the development cycle, this is something obligatory and halal at the same time. So remember, when people lived during Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and now, so we have different technologies, cars, buildings. It's total different life. People by nature get developed, get improved. And you know, this is very good point. Thank you for this, Brother Isa. Because in the Western world, you know that they are masters of development. This is what we call, and most of people call, this is the developed world. When they see Muslims, they just worship God and neglect productivity and improvement. They say Islam is negative. It is bad for humanity. And this is the worst thing that a Muslim brother does for the image and message and perspection of Islam. We are ambassadors, right, as Muslims. So we have to act as ambassadors. This is the image. So you need to work, and Quran and Allah's methodologies mentioned in the Holy Quran are the tools to help us best live, work, produce, and improve.
Jazakallah khair. I have a question to
Sure.
ask as well. How can we use Ramadan to increase our productivity when it comes to da'wah, when it comes to inviting other people to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I want to ask the question to you, and also want to hear thoughts from brothers as well, maybe their personal experiences. So your thoughts.
Sure. Over the research I was just mentioning, one of the results of this research, why people got more productive in Ramadan beside spirituality, they have mentioned that when people are less with food, less lunch breaks, less tea breaks, etc., they are more productive. So Ramadan is an opportunity for discipline. When you set discipline, Osama, it will help you to be on track your entire life. And this is for da'wah. Da'wah is not just to talk to people on periodic phases or periodic, we can say, speeches every week or every month or every year. It is in your day-to-day interaction with others.
So basically,
This
your
is da'wah.
actions speak louder than words.
Basically, actions.
Yes.
And Ramadan is why it is golden opportunity, because some people are seeing you are not eating and should be with less energy. But when you are more productive and you are with less energy, people start to ask questions. These questions are the key, because when you ask, you start to answer. When you answer them, you educate them, then they know. And when they know and they see you acting good, they believe in this. So they will believe that Islam is in life for man's good. So this is what I see from my point of view.
Beautiful point. Thank you so much. Brother
Most
Isa, your thoughts.
Okay. I definitely feel that one scenario that kind of just came to my mind is, for example, somebody fasting at work and then somebody at their work, offering, you want to come to lunch or do you want something to drink, and that could be the perfect opportunity to be like, thank you very much, but it's Ramadan, I'm fasting, and use that as a dawah opportunity, and I definitely think, that scenario, must happen all the time amongst friends and everything like that. And
what would you do in that scenario? Like when someone comes to you and he asks you that question, you tell him I'm fasting. How would you, use that situation in order to give him dawah?
Right. Okay. That's a very good question. I would more than likely, use that, in a way to, explain to them, this is, what Muslims do. We fast, for one whole month, a lunar month, during the month of Ramadan, and I would basically bring that back to any point of dawah. Maybe, for example, I mean, why we're doing it. Sometimes people just jump and say that, like, we're doing it so we can feel the hunger that other people feel. But really, what it comes back to is Allah has, Allah has, commanded us to and ordered us to fast throughout this month. So we should really, bring it back to, for example, the Quran. Talking about the Quran and how, the Quran was revealed in this month, and really not just use like maybe
The social aspect only.
yeah, the social aspect, or like, oh, it's health benefits and things like that.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Thank you so much, brother. Brother Absam, we only have a minute before we have to take a break. So your thoughts about this? How can we utilize the month of Ramadan to give da'wah and to be productive when it comes to da'wah, which is an obligation on every Muslim?
Yes. When we're with our co-workers or we're with our fellow students, I mean, we're naturally close to them. We're doing the same things. So they observe us and our habits. And like the brother was saying, not but having less energy, but having more energy, and perfecting what we do at work, and still we're fasting. And also even having them to join in with us, inviting them. I was with some student group at USC, the Trojans, right? And what they would do is they would invite people to the iftars.
Okay.
They would say, come have iftar with us.
So kind of like an open house.
Yeah, they would have an open house iftar. The different students from different races and backgrounds and religions would come and see what we're doing. They would enjoy food, and then, wow, they would see everyone make salat. You know what I mean? And they would see everyone so happy. And at the same time, they would get a lot of exposure to Islam, in a very friendly and in a beautiful way, mashallah. Yes.
With a lot of tasty food as well.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. All right, my dear brothers and sisters, we're going to take a short break, inshallah. When we come back, we'll have more questions, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and more answers also, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Stay with us. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back, my dear brothers and sisters, to Life Choices. More questions and hopefully more answers as well, inshallah, on how to be a productive Muslim this Ramadan, inshallah. Brother Ahmed, I had a question that I wanted to ask you about consistency.
Yeah.
Now that we are around the middle of Ramadan, some people are falling off. They may have started strong, but they're not being consistent.
Yes.
First of all, what causes that? And then also, if we have fallen victim to this, how can we get back on track to get the most benefit from what's left of Ramadan?
So why did we fall? This is the main question. Because when you start by boosting full energy, and I want to be this in very short time on the religious part and on the productivity part, this is the mistake that everyone falls in. It's like when you plan and you set dreams for a very short time. So it has to be realistic, and it has to be step by step. So we all know the story when Prophet Muhammad started to call people for Islam. He took them step by step, not a full boosting. It's not breakthrough. It cannot be a breakthrough. You will fall in the beginning. It's like when someone wants to get in shape by jogging or practicing or exercising. So they start to set, hey, all right, I'll run 2 hours a day. So they run the first 2 days, and the third, it's starting to decline. The main purpose is to increase.
Yeah, they got to start like Brother Abdul. He said he'll have his 3-minute workout.
Yes.
So I guess that's a place. That's a good time to start.
So if you start with less and try to produce more, or get the bar start to increase, it's much better to decrease, because when it is decreased, you feel disappointed. You feel that there is no hope. While when you start with less and start to improve, and the bar start to increase, it will set you with self-satisfaction. It will encourage you to be more disciplined. So this is why we fall in the middle. And we have to be prepared, like when Brother Absalam said, so Ramadan is 2 days later, so let's be prepared. It's not just like this. You have to be prepared the whole year or a month before Ramadan in terms of your eating habits, your habits with Allah, etc. So because you think it is only a month and it's running very fast. I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do that, and you busy your mind with lots of things that will not happen. So we fell down because we boosted full energy in the beginning. So how to get on
How to
track
get back
again?
on track, yeah.
On track again. You need, when you get back on track, so you should have already planned for. Because if you didn't set a plan, you will not be able to say, I want to get back on track. Where is the track to get back to? It's like when you reach a place, but you don't know where is the place. You will never know that you reached this place, even if you reached your point, because you don't know where you are heading. You have to know where you are heading. A goal, and strategies and measures. This is we talked about in the strategic planning before. So the measure tells you if you deviated or not, and you have to rethink again how to get back. So we assume that you set the plan already, and you deviated. By getting back is expending or spending extra effort on getting back again, and getting back again step by step. So by this, you set yourself a discipline, and if you deviated, you will know that I deviated. And it will come by time, because you deviate that big first time, next time you'll deviate that big, and will start to reduce by time until you find yourself on track. You know, it's like driving. During the first 6 months of driving, and you just learned how to drive, when you do لا قدر الله accident or something, so the number of accidents during the first year in driving, it's not like in the 10th year. It reduces. So it comes by time. You have to think like this. It will come by time. So the more effort you spend, it will reduce the time. Asking God to help you in this, believe in it, it will make you on track and sustainable. Sustainability is the key, because you cannot do things and a couple of months later you fell down. So it has to be sustainable. And Ramadan is golden opportunity for sustainability, because sustainability comes from discipline. And Ramadan is about discipline.
Excellent. Brother Sam, you have another question?
Let me see. Well, mashallah, the brother's been very helpful and really answering the questions and focusing on organization and the management of your time and resources. But where do we get okay, so say that we make our plan, but do you have some tips on, okay, because we need discipline, like you're saying, to stay on this plan. So what are ways to increase our self-discipline? Ways that we can, because I can, okay, this is my plan, I kind of get my schedule, this is my goal, this is, but then when it's time to do it, I said, okay, get up at this time, and I want to sleep. I said work out this time, but you know what, I just want to
I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, I want to work out later and watch TV right now and just chill, right? You know, so if you have some pointers on where we get the motivation, really, to stay on our plan, and the self-discipline.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
Sure. First, that's very good question. Thank you for this, really. First, it comes from the will. Do I want to do this or not? I have to have the will inside first. And how to get motivated? I'll tell you myself, I get motivated by sometimes myself and sometimes by others. And by others is the key question, because yourself, you know yourself what is internally. But when I get motivated, sorry, by others, because I choose people I learn from. So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the first and best example ever, and Sahaba. For myself, because I am into the more development and economic world, I follow Khalifa Amir al-Mu'mineen, Umar ibn Khattab, and what he accomplished in real life, because it's all about your spirituality and what you do in real life. Umar ibn Khattab did millions of good things, and he was a pioneer, he was a genius. This gives you motivation. Sometimes, when I think of what he did, sometimes I feel jealous. I want to do this. I will not do like what he did, but I want to prove something, to improve, to be there, to provide something for the message of Islam and for Allah. The best motivation you could have when you know that you are serving the message of Allah, not your personal ambition or your personal goals. Your goals should serve the message of Allah, what you are doing for.
And that's a much bigger goal than, just being a self-achiever or,
Yes.
making it in this world and all these types of things.
And I'm sure, it's phases, because sometimes you need a step in order to serve the message of Allah. The message of Allah, for example, you see in your personal capabilities. You are an economist, you are a personal development trainer or coach, etc., or you are a host like our brother Osama. So you need to excel in what you're doing, because this will help the message, what you have created for. Sometimes I ask myself, why I am in the world, and I have been created as Muslim, or I am now a Muslim. Why?
There has to be a reason.
There must be a reason. And this reason is linked to what you are capable and excel at doing like no other. Brother Osama, you have a skill that it's not at everyone's here, but you have it. God gave it to you. I have the same, or my brothers has the same. You have to identify it, you have to discover it. And this comes by practice and by interaction and by work. When you discover this, you will know why you are there, why you are in life as Muslim.
Excellent.
And what is your role in the message. By this, you will get the maximum motivation.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. My dear brothers and sisters, we're going to go ahead and take a look at a short video, inshallah. When we come back, we will comment on it, so stay with us.
How to prepare for the summer fasts. I know what you're thinking. I'll just hit the gym. No, that doesn't work for fasting. The first top tip is to fast before Ramadan to get used to it. What some people do is only fast in Ramadan, and it takes them the first 10 days to get used to it. Another top tip, try to get used to not going on Facebook or WhatsApp or any other social network sometimes before Ramadan comes, so it won't be too hard when it finally does come. A lot of our time of fasting is spent telling other people that we're fasting. Another top tip, cut down on your TV beforehand, so during Ramadan it's easy to take a break from it and feel the blessings of the month. Easy. Be strong, son. Next, get into a regular habit of reading the Quran. It doesn't have to be loads, but just get your body used to it and get fluent, so during the month you won't spend a lot of time adjusting, yet you can spend your time progressing. Come on, brother, I'm sure you can do more than that. That's it. Reading is not a strong point for most of us, but as a lot of knowledge is locked in books, and it's a calm and virtuous way to make the most of our time, it's good to start off with going through your collection and starting off with a book you like and find interesting, because you will be more likely to read it and finish it as well. Next, ask your friends about courses, lectures, or even charity work during this blessed month, as sadly many people kill time, but it's more rewarding to spend it productively, as our good deeds are multiplied manyfold, so make the most of it.
Those were some very interesting tips right there. I want to hear the comments of our brothers here in the studio. Brother Absalam, I felt like you were really into this video. You wanted to like jump in the screen.
Yeah, it was a good video, mashallah, and it had a lot of good points in it. And like
What stood out to you?
one, being productive, not only in Ramadan, but in life, because time is so valuable.
Okay.
Time is like, I believe it's one of the most valuable things that we have. We're accumulating deeds with our time. So, you know, just spending it the right way. And the older we get, the more valuable we realize that time is. So just managing ourselves and spending time. And he, in the video, it reminded me about reading too. And even reading the Quran, if I could share with you something that I've experienced.
Please.
Like with reading the Quran, at first when I began to read, I was reading a translation of the Quran in English. Then I learned some Arabic, and I learned Arabic, and I started to be able to at least read the Quran in Arabic. But something that I've experienced, mashallah, is that now I try to read it some English and some Arabic. And I find, you know, I don't know about you guys, but when I read, sometimes my eyes become sore, and you become like, you know, especially if it's in the morning, you know, sometimes.
Definitely.
But what I've found is, and Allah knows why, you know, but when I read the English, yes, my eyes like reading, you know. But when I read the Arabic, it's just like my eyes are like enjoying it or something. It's like, yeah, mashallah, it's like it's a relief to my eyes. It's not as, I don't know why. I don't know if it's
Maybe
psychological.
because the language
it's
of
barakah. I don't know
of
what
Jannah.
it is. Yeah, the language of people of Jannah. But that's something that I do realize, and that in the reading and spending your time, not just, okay, this many hours before I eat, but spending your time, like when we're reading and we're getting into the Quran, and we're not just going and not just reading it like, but pondering over the Quran. Because this one, that's why I read it in English, because I don't understand all of the Arabic. You know, I catch some ayats and stuff like that, but I don't understand everything. So pondering over the Quran when we're reading it, and then having the intention to apply this to our lives and implementing this in our lives. So this video, mashallah, it hinted on some of these type of things.
Yeah. One of the things that really stood out to me was the idea of pre-planning. You know, like I thought that was a message that they included in almost all the tips that they had there. You know, do this before Ramadan, so when Ramadan comes, you'll be okay. You know, don't go on Facebook too much before Ramadan, so that you're able to go on it less during Ramadan. Start reading Quran beforehand. You know, stop watching a lot of TV beforehand. You know, so this idea of pre-planning really makes a difference when you're actually in it. Just like, you know, people who play at the World Cup, they have to, you know, train for a long time before they go in there and just play a few hours. Your thoughts, Brother Isa, about the video?
I think one you know, one thing that kind of stood out to me is like, what are we doing, you know, with our time while we're fasting? You know, whether it's, you know, whether it's during the day, because I mean, you know, not just concentrating on just the food aspect of it, what we're staying away from, you know, when it comes to staying away from, you know, drinking and eating, but also staying away from not looking at things on the internet that we shouldn't be looking at, you know, not listening to, you know, people, let's say, for example, backbiting or whatever the case may be. And obviously not, you know, saying things that you shouldn't be, right? So it's the holistic fast of, you know, the entire body. And we have to be mindful of our actions. And I think Ramadan is, you know, really helps us with that. And we should try to find, you know, better use of our time when we do have free time, instead of just being on, you know, Facebook the entire night or just watching TV the entire night. I mean, try to find, you know, better ways to spend that free time. I
really was amazed by the phrase that they used when they said, we kill time during Ramadan. You know, which is very, very sad. It is true, though. You know, sometimes we're just looking at the watch and like, okay, how can I spend these next 30 minutes before it's time for iftar? How can I kill those 30 minutes? What can I do? You know, maybe I should go and take a shower right now, or maybe I should sit like in the balcony for a bit, or whatever the case may be. When we can be using even 5 minutes can be very precious, right? So
and I just wanted to, you know, just add to that is, you know, something that came in my, like we've been discussing, like, working and going to the masjid and praying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, or reading the Quran and everything like that. But I think also, I mean, it's a time to go to the masjid and be more acquainted with the community.
Definitely.
'Cause, I mean, so many people, at least in Toronto, so many more people come during Ramadan. So it's an amazing time to connect with brothers and be with them, and also, I mean, the greater community. I mean, it's an amazing time to get the ajr of giving sadaqah and helping those who are in need and everything along those lines. So it's not just a personal thing, but it should be more about the community and giving back to the community what we can. Inshallah.
Beautiful point, Relais. Thank you so much. My dear brothers and sisters, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to hear Brother Ahmed Fayyad's thoughts about the video that we just saw, and we'll talk a little bit more about how we can continue to be productive Muslims this Ramadan, inshallah. So stay with us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back, my dear brothers and sisters, to the final segment here of Life Choices. Brother Ahmed Fayyad, we were watching a video before the break, and we didn't get a chance to hear your thoughts about it.
Yes, sure. What I really liked about the video, it's the idea of the volume of the good you are doing. When helping the poor, etc., helping the poor with a certain volume, it's not only in Ramadan. You increase it in Ramadan a little bit, fine, but you cannot do a 5% in Ramadan and a decrease to 1% after Ramadan. Ramadan is all about discipline for sustainability. So the volume you do in your worship and the good by producing a more society work, helping the poor, etc., and needy people could be increased in Ramadan, fine, but make it sustainable, or the increment shouldn't be a huge
there should be a huge gap.
A huge gap between the normal and the one in Ramadan. If you do this 5% in Ramadan, and this is the maximum you can do, make the regular you do before or after Ramadan, make it 3.5 or 4%. It's all about the volume. This is I really inspired by the video. We took idea from the video. This is my opinion about it. Another point, and this is, we use it in our business world, what Brother Isa said, when people getting more to the mosque, connecting each other, etc. This is what we call in our business world networking with the business. And the research I have been studying, when people in Ramadan, they get more networking and connecting, and this serves the business. Because when you meet a people you can do business well with during Taraweeh or in the mosque, this will help the business the next day, right? So again, Ramadan is not only opportunity for spiritual or religious aspect in our life.
Of course, you shouldn't conduct, business transactions inside the masjid, but obviously, you can get to know people, and then maybe, some conversation will pop up later, and you'll
you just
end
know
up
the
having
person.
business. Yeah.
And when you meet this person outside the mosque or the next day in work or in a company, he will recognize you, and because you already networked with, and the ice broke. There is a channel already opened.
Yeah, and also it's a great way to use Muslim talent. To kind of okay, if I'm good at something and you're good at something, we can just put our talents together to produce something better.
Yes.
And to provide job opportunities for Muslims who may be struggling also as well. Let me tell you guys something that I also really believe that Ramadan can teach us, and that is the idea of not being selfish, and not being greedy, doing everything for money.
Yes.
I remember I was volunteering for one of the Muslim organizations, and then we had a brother, who said, okay, I know this guy who can do a website for us. So he called him up, and he's like, so what can you do this website for us? He's really good at websites. So what he told him is is this a paid job or is this a Jazakallah khairan job? So basically it's okay, are you going to pay me for this or are you just going to thank me for it? Well, all of us, we need to make money. We need to have some sort of a business so we can live. But we shouldn't be so selfish and so greedy, you know, and like living in the world that we're living in today. I feel that many times we've just become too greedy, and like all the first thing that comes to our mind is money, and we often forget about the idea of reward, and that even if we do something for free for the sake of Allah, Allah will put barakah in the other type of work that we have. I don't know what do you guys think? Do you think that Ramadan really does teach us not to be greedy and not to be selfish? Your thoughts?
Definitely. And this is, I believe, the key to success. I remember we were talking during a previous break about living for the Ummah. We were talking about, some of the Sahaba and, how they would live for Islam. They would work and they would do the things, we all have to do. But when we think about our purpose, and once we become accomplished to a certain level where, okay, alhamdulillah, we're practicing Islam, we're not comfortable like, we're going to Jannah or anything, but okay, we're doing the minimum that we're supposed to be doing. We become established a little bit, then what? I think as Muslims, we should be trying to make the world a better place and help people enter Islam and help our communities. So this sharing and this unselfishness, this selflessness really
Definitely.
is what, if you look at the figures of Islam and the success that they achieved, like you were saying, look at Omar radiallahu anhu. He was the leader of the Muslims. He expanded Islam greatly, but look at how simple he lived and how he even, he would deprive himself of things that were okay. And even if you look at down the line, his grandson, I believe it was Omar ibn Abdul Aziz, and it wasn't his I think his great-grandson or something like that. Well, in this time of Islam, he didn't even want to be the Khalifa. But then, it just happened because they were electing, people were electing their sons and this and that. They would, but Allah decreed that it would go to him. And actually, Omar actually predicted that Khalifa would come from his bloodline and would have a scar, and he had this scar and he predicted this. But before he became, I was reading some book just a little while ago, they said he was a little heavy set before he became the Khalifa. After he became the Khalifa, he became skinny. And they said, his clothes with the pomp and the glitter went down in his life. And mashallah, in 3 years, I believe he ruled over the Muslims for 3 years. And in this time, it was about 100 years after Hijrah. And there was great corruption in the Muslim world already. The Baitul Mal, the place of the Baitul Mal, the place of money, everybody was taking money for themselves. And really what he did is with his selflessness and his generosity and his serving Islam, he encouraged the people to put the money back. And what he really did, one of the landmark things that he did in his caliphate was to get the money back. And he started with himself. He had some property that belonged to the Muslims. He said, how did I end up with this orchard? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give this orchard back. Then he ordered his wife to give her jewelry back to the Baitul Mal, and he told everyone that the property that they had, and give it back. And the people were like, what are you doing? And they really didn't like him because of this. But mashallah, in 3 years before his death, actually, he really transformed the Ummah and got it back on track to the way that it was practiced in the time of the Prophet and the Sahaba, with his selflessness. And when they would, these people, the Sahaba, when they would get in positions of authority, they would roll back their own personal desires. They would set the stuff aside, and they would achieve such accomplishments that you would say, just mashallah, this is totally amazing. I think we need to we'll never do like they did, but we can just reflect on this and personally reflect on this and really spend our lives, our talents, who we are, have fun, but spend it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, spend it for the deen of Islam, to lift this Islam back to the status, because Islam is here. When you look in the books, the Quran, the Hadith, it's perfect. But the people nowadays, I think we need to lift our status and who we are and how we interact with other people, and it will lift the status of Islam today, inshallah.
Inshallah. Barakallah feek. What do you think, Brother Isa? Does Ramadan help us become more selfless and less selfish?
Absolutely. I think, Islam, you know, the one of a personal experience of mine, like becoming Muslim, and you know, so many brothers at the beginning being so happy for me, being there to help me, asking me if I needed anything. They would, you know, they would I just have to ask, and
then they evaporated.
I mean, I mean, you know, I mean that's. But I just wanted to mention. I mean, really, one of the most beautiful experiences that I've had has been really the brotherhood that I found in Islam, and that's something so beautiful that even one of my favorite hadith is the hadith that basically says, none of you truly believes until he loves for his brother that which he loves for himself.
Definitely.
Right? So when we make a conscious effort of putting this into action, and we see other people who are very generous with their time, with their money, with you know, being hospitable. I mean, these are all beautiful things. And I mean, you know, if we're in a position to do that, if we have guests come over to our house for iftar, we should make you know, them feel very welcome, and really, you know, really honor the guest. And at the same time, I mean, it goes to strangers that we might see at the masjid. You know, someone might be begging for money or in need. I mean, we should happily go and help those people and remind ourselves of this hadith. And imagine if we were in that situation, you know, of dire need, of having to beg people for money. I mean, what kind of feeling that would be when everybody just looks down on us and will just brush us off, you know? Wouldn't you want someone to smile and happily give you some money? So it's a matter of, you know, kind of putting ourselves sometimes in other people's shoes. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Brother Ahmed, the last word is yours. We have just about a minute and a half left. What are your thoughts about Ramadan and its relationship with being a selfless person?
Actually, I see it with the message. So the example Brother Salam said for Khalifa Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. So he worked for the message, because when you, as an individual in the Muslim world, when you work for the message of Islam, so you are not selfish at all, because you give all what you have of resources, energy, everything for the message of Allah. So this is complete non-selfishness. So this is for the part of selfishness, and Ramadan puts you on this as a discipline for this. It gives you all what you need as a training in order to sustain this forever. And you need to remind yourself for this from time to time, because Shaitan after Ramadan will not let you to do this in peace. An important point you mentioned, when Ummah was having lots of corruption, and Khalifa Umar ibn Aziz already made them back again on track. This is the deviation we're speaking about. When someone makes a deviation, a complete Ummah could make a deviation, because Ummah is formed from thousands of people. So this is the deviation we spoke about, and he returned them on track. Why? Because he knew the message, he knew the objective, where they are heading. This is why he turned them from the corruption, and at the same point, this is total non-selfishness, because he's working towards the message of Allah and Islam.
Thank you so much. Brothers, I want to thank all of you for being with us here tonight. Inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. Brother Abdul Salam, thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate it. Brother Isa, thank you so much for being with us. Allah reward you. And Brother Ahmed, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. My dear brothers and sisters, thank you so much for being with us here on Life Choices. Jazakumullah khairan. We'll be back with you again next week, inshallah. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Chances, dreams and goals, many mixed emotions in my heart and soul. For some I made a plan and did the best I can. If God wills, things can happen. After all, I'm just a man. Choices, chances, dreams and goals, many mixed emotions in my heart and soul. For some I made a plan and did the best I can. If God wills, things can happen. After all, I'm just a man.